Hey, how's it going? Coming to you early today. It is, hold on, let me, I have to look. It is 7:05. I'm having an early morning read for you today. Early morning read for you today. Hold on. Oh, shoot, it's one of those ones I can't click off. Okay, fine. I guess I have to endure a commercial or two. So, I'm going to do a little thing called Yesterday's Cards Today. I hate to waste them. This is going to be a combined reading. I was going to do two where, like, one of those ones where I just talk about stuff. This is just going to be a long reading and me talking about stuff. I'm just going to squish it all together. So, yesterday is the topic. Today, I recently got a new job, and it's not that difficult, and it's technical, but I'm an idiot, so I kind of messed it all up in a way. Like, thank goodness I still have the job. But part of the problem that made me mess it all up, well, it didn't make me. I just allowed things to get under my skin, and that I was still doing the things that I was supposed to do, but my stress level was causing me to do things more times. Like, you know how when you're online or you want to put in a password and you only have so many tries? It was something along those lines where I just wasn't thinking. Like, you can't keep trying and trying and trying. You're going to make the online entity want to lock up, which it did. But only in one part, so, like, I was still able to do things. And I don't want to talk about that too much, like the details of that, because that's not the point. But, I had, like, a lot of information coming at me, way more than I'm used to in that sort of format, because basically I have made my life one of very much ease, and so I don't do things that are gonna stress me out deliberately. Like, I don't want to feel that way. It's why I'm very particular about what jobs I'll take anymore, because I can now be particular about it. Before, I had to take whatever I could get, and I've had some wonderful bosses and some awesome jobs, but they are not the majority. So I still have trepidation and I guess PTSD from working, like, service jobs. And wow, I never really thought about this, but you know how first responders and that, all kinds of danger levels involved in their jobs and risk and heroics, really. The kind of service that I was doing was like retail, so these days, far more dangerous. Of course, you could always get robbed or definitely have cuckoo nuts come in the store, because that happened. In particular, in this one store I'm thinking of in particular, because it was at the beach, and so there's a lot of people at the beach that have the philosophy sort of like mine, except they are not even together enough for whatever reason, might be illness or substance abuse, or just life has knocked them flat and they don't even have the wherewithal to get it together and pick themselves up yet. And I don't want to diverge from what I'm talking about, but there were people like that would come in the store and they would be in all kinds of altered states, in substance and just mentally someplace else, and they'd be angry, or yeah, it was usually they just come in and like want to like yell or start arguments with people, and they'd be dirty and they'd smell like they went to the bathroom in their clothes, which a lot of them did, because when you're like that, a lot of places won't let you in to use a regular bathroom. So on top of their other problems, being treated that way, I'm sure makes you irritable. And I'm just saying so because I'm on the other side of it on the counter, dealing with people who treat you very much the same way sometimes as they would this person that smells and is saying incoherent things and is loud and maybe gesturing and knocking stuff over and basically scaring people. I suppose it's scary, but I just felt like if you just talk to them like a person calmly, like you would to like an upset animal, because that, let's face it, we're not like better than animals. We are. They teach us a lot. They're here to teach us. So, but anyway, I had some, and then I had some bad jobs with great bosses. So, I'm just glad that I don't have to do it anymore. Although the trade I had to make was my health. But I have accepted it a long time ago. It's fine. Something under my fake teeth irritating me. Between the teeth and gum. Okay, cards. Oh, so yesterday I forgot. This was kind of important. The reason why I'm doing yesterday's cards today is because besides the job, which was fun and interesting, I just had been up again. I talked about this a couple of days ago where I was just up because of whatever energies are so strong that I just can't really get to sleep. So I had 2 hours sleep after being up the whole night and day before that, so like 2 days ago. And then yesterday I kind of, because of the problems I caused with my hyper, I was like one of those people at a stoplight where you press the button, it's like, or in an elevator, it's like once you press it, pressing it more is not gonna make the light change faster. But that's what I was doing, and so I have to wait until I can go into my bank, and luckily my boss is very patient and he's gonna allow me the time to go in there and do that, and I can do other stuff in the meantime. Stuff could just come my way. It sometimes it does with this particular job because it's remote. So I basically am having a day off, which is funny because my life has been a day off, but that's neither here nor there, I guess. So I went out for my ride after doing some work in the morning, and came in and took a shower and had a little something to eat. And I just made a sandwich, and I went to sit down, and it was like, I don't even know what time it was, but it was like after 10 p.m. So it was getting late, and I still hadn't really slept well. And I went and sat in my chair, and I knew that it might happen, because usually I only sleep like 3 hours, 4 hours at the most. And I nap, so I don't need much sleep, but I'd been missing the nap. I had a short one, but it was a long time ago. So when I sat down yesterday, I was gone. I woke up at 5. I woke up before my cat, and that never happens. So here I am, all sparky and full of energy. Okay, on to the cards. I pulled two. Only 2 came out. So the first one I pulled is from the Shaman's Dream Oracle deck, and it was number 38, Many Masks. 38 is a divisible 11, 11, 11. I get so excited. Okay, I don't know why this person, this figure on there, you can see that it's like a that's that's always a representation. Wait, hold on a second. Gotta fix something. Okay, that's better. So, yeah. Plaster bust. And the first thing I thought of, well, I couldn't figure out which word I wanted. The first word I thought of, not the first word. The first word I got hung up on was sought. Okay, let's just get over that, shall we? The bust, the image of the individual. I gotta get my mise en place out of the way. Okay. The image of the individual on the bust. The first thing I saw or thought of was Sinead O'Connor, because it's wearing the person of the bust is wearing like some sort of hair covering. And then I focused more on the face and realized, wow, that's really Asian looking. So what those two things have to do with each other, I'm not quite sure, except for the fact that the pictures of Sinead O'Connor that I saw of her before her death, she seemed to be wearing a Muslim style headwear. Headpiece. It's not a tube. It's a hair covering. So those are just things I noticed. And then this was pretty big. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me clarify something here. This was going to be a general reading yesterday, but I'm just going to, since the whole tenor of the read has changed because of what happened, the time thing, the fact that I passed out and didn't do it when I was gonna, which would have been a completely different, energy. I was feeling different ways about different things, so everything's completely different now. But so it's going to be more personal than anything. This reading, God help me. God help me. Okay, so if you'll notice, there's a little white mask back there floating, and mask is short for masquerade, and that's more of a drama mask, I think. Like, it actually doesn't have the expression, but the drama masks, there'll be one that expresses happiness, and then another that expresses not happy of some variety. And the reason why I'm focusing on the mask is because part of the stress of the day of the job that I spoke of before was that I had a lot of notifications coming in from my boss who was working with me to get me started, and also someone that I was talking to personally, and I was unsure about this person's motives and the reality of their identity, because they claim to be someone, and then I just was going back and forth because I was so confused. Like, it feels like it's the person, but they're saying and doing all of these things that I know scammers do. And so, as far as the veracity of this person's identity, I did some work. Well, not work. I looked just slightly, because honestly, they approached me, and I'm fine with talking to people because I don't have a big social group or at all have one at all, like in person, like I know plenty of people online, but people that are 2 states away or a country away, that's not somebody you can reach out and hug. And also, mostly everyone else's life is different from mine in the fact that they have one. They have like a family, and then they have to deal with whatever, like if they have kids, they have that life to deal with on top of everything else, and they're significant other relationship, and like all of us, everybody's got a bunch of stuff. So I don't have that, but it also means that I have more time than mostly everyone else, and I have an uncanny knack for reaching out to people at the time when they're just not available. And it got to be, at first I was like hurt a little bit. Well, no, I was hurt a lot because nobody had time for me. Nobody had time to talk to me. And then I was like, oh, wait, nobody, like, it just kept happening and happening. I was like, oh, wait, nobody has time for me. Well, that sucks. Fine, I don't have time for them either. But, I can't get too upset about it, though, because, what I just said, I have all this time. It's just not the same. The importance I place on the time I have is of a completely different value system. So it is what it is, and so that makes for a lonely life in terms of just not having people around all the time to just turn to and say blah blah blah. And that's fine, like, I think it's meant to be. At this point I'm more or less comfortable with it, but it's not the same as, when I lived at home in Hollywood, I know so many people, but you could go days without actually seeing any of those people, unless you made the effort to go seek them out, or they decided to seek you out for whatever reason. You could go days without seeing people, and that's lonely in a way. And so that's kind of what it feels like. So when people talk to me, even if I know they're fake, I'll still talk to them for a while. It used to be that I would want to trap them and get as much of their digital information as possible so I could turn them into whatever platform I was on, and get them to leave me alone, hopefully. Like, I don't want to get anybody in trouble. If I say no or leave me alone or go away, I actually really want you to do that. But you can't rely on that anymore. Like, Twitter used to have recourse for those types of things. You could turn somebody in, and they didn't want them on the platform, so they would get rid of them and do something. But the problem with that that happened was that some people are vindictive, and I did have a couple of people that I know without a doubt that I met on there that I rubbed the wrong way, and they decided to screw with my online. They didn't dox me exactly, but they screwed with my accounts. They definitely got into my accounts. I had to keep changing my information and all this stuff. And then you get the ones that are, I don't want to talk about all of that. Like, everyone pretty much knows what a scammer does online. They lie to you and try to get money out of you. And so you have to be aware of that too. But now that there's no recourse in Facebook, you can't really go to them with anything. They have their rules, and what I have found is that they'll give you these sort of, like, you'll go help, and it'll be all, here's a list of things that everybody else has talked about, maybe you can do that. Like, that's the extent of the help you're going to get from them. And I don't know what their arbitration system is, but I know that I was on Instagram, and I'm an adult, okay, so don't get your panties in a clutch, but I was sexting. And then in the middle of it, the person showed themselves, and it was like not the person that was pictured. And I'm sorry, that pissed me off. Ooh, excuse me. But basically, I just immediately stopped and blocked them and reported them. And then that just started a chain of retaliation from that person online. But then Instagram was like, you can't be here, you're selling stuff and you're doing all these things. And I'm like, I still to this day have not sold anything ever online. I've never made a pitch. So that had to be that other person. But I just think it's interesting that they have the data, They could look at my site and see that I never sold anything, but they didn't. And I, like 5 years later, went to go back on there, and they wouldn't let me. There's still like No, you're a terrible criminal. You did. I don't even know what I supposedly did, but I'm the worst, apparently. So, you gotta watch out for people like that. But that's not really that big of a deal to me. There's other sites, and then guess what? If I get kicked off of all of those sites, I remember when there were no sites. So it's not really that big of a deal if you think about it. Did I mention my signs? Hi, I have some cute signs up there that I would like you to observe so that all of the sort of obligations on my part have been acknowledged. Okay, that's enough. You have a pause button, I am sure. So, okay, back to the card and the mask. So I was speaking to a person that I was unsure of their actual identity, and then my great caregiver takes such good care of me, jumped on her phone and was investigating. She's like, oh wow, because she was super suspicious with me. She cares about me. But she was all, looks like it's really him. Because there was no overseas stuff. And anyway, I kind of thought it was actually him, but he was just behaving so strangely. And he wasn't really being himself. He wouldn't, like, I said that he wasn't acting like a person because it was that he was not talking about himself. No one doesn't do that. Even the most humble person talks about themselves in some way, but he managed to excise that particular quality in himself, which is unheard of. I've never heard of it. But he's locked in a cycle of fear and suspicion about other people, and then when he meets someone that has never asked them for a cotton-picking thing, who, they showed up to me. I did not reach out to this person. And I actually admire them because we had a similar, well, we're both musicians. There I go again, musicians. Although he's active and I'm not. Or actually, I don't know if he is anymore. But anyway, we both play the same instrument. It's what I'm getting at. And because I know of their work, they're like a favorite of mine. So I was like, okay, I'll talk to this person. Sure, why not? Great. And I'm not being sarcastic. I was serious. Like, great. But when this is a pet peeve of mine. This is one of my turnoffs. When someone reaches out to you online and they go directly to your instant messaging or your private message, whatever you want to call it. But my problem with it is that they have not really spoken to you in the other open part of the platform, and that drives me a little bit buggy because I've talked about it a lot of times. If you look at it as if online is the exact same as meeting someone in person, even though it's not the case, I still want that type of etiquette to be maintained. I want to be respectfully treated where you're not just all, hi, I'm Joe Blow and I'm in your private area. So in the metaphor, I might have made eye contact with you out on the sidewalk somewhere, but that is not an invitation to just let yourself into my house and have me come home and show up and find you in my bedroom. That's what it feels like, and that's intrusive. I don't like it. I don't think anyone does, and I don't know why people don't think of this. So here's this man reaching out to talk to you, and you're a woman, and if they come in there talking about, to me, it's obvious they've come in there because they want to talk to you on a man-woman basis. If they just want to be friendly, they wouldn't have to do it in private. I feel like if I haven't talked to you, you don't have anything to say to me in private, so why the F are you here? There are exceptions to that rule, of course, but that's my feeling about that. So I understand for someone in this person's position that they have to maintain a sort of buffer zone around themselves because of, as this person put it, people after their fame and money. And the whole time I talked to this fella, I didn't ask him for nothing. In fact, he was asking me for stuff, which is why I was suspicious. And then he just kept doing it, and I kept saying, yeah, but there ain't no more. There's nothing there. Like, there's no one to ask for more. There's nothing. And they just kept coming back and asking, and I was like, you know what? Screw it. This was a mistake. I've gotten all I wanted out of you. Or I didn't want anything from him, but I've gotten all I want from you. I want no more. And when someone comes into your private messages and is talking to, and you like say, what do you want? I say it. Well, what are your intentions with coming here? Like, what are you talking to me in private for? Well, nothing. I just want to be friends. Okay, well then why didn't you speak to me out there? Because this is inappropriate. And also, that is not what you want. You want to talk to me on a man-woman basis. Otherwise, you would have talked to me out in the open. So if I confront them and they can't admit to it, there's a number of red flags. I don't care which one it is, what it's about. You can just go. It's been many years of dealing with this, and the deselection process is incredibly simple, although they don't always accept it at first, which, if you're not a scammer and you're just a regular person and you're really trying, like, and you're persistent and you keep coming back the same way that I sent you away from, having mentioned that there's this whole open space on the platform where it's totally okay to talk to me and you won't run into a problem probably, but people just get it set in their minds what they want to do, and they're not really listening to the object of their affection, which, flag number 2, duh, you have to pay attention. It's not just you. If it were just about you, you wouldn't need me, so hello. That kind of thing. Alright. Did I mention this is probably going to be a long one? It's probably going to be a long one. So, there's like all this hiding involved with that particular person, and it's to a fault. I mean, if you want to get close to someone, you have to let them become close to you. If you want trust so bad, at some point you got to trust the other person. It's like Donald Trump always, needing loyalty and stuff so much, but he's not that way himself. He'll turn on you in a dime. He'll flip on you, turn on you, anything to save his own butt. So he doesn't really care about anyone but himself, it looks like, but I would imagine he cares a lot. I think he's just created a buffer zone around himself of, he doesn't want to get hurt by people. He keeps saying he wants loyalty, and talks about it all the time. So either he really wants it or he really doesn't. But I think he really does, because, like all of us, there's a child in him that something went wrong with, and it's, I guess, unaddressed and has had an effect on his adult life. So, and that's not a judgment, it's just a statement of fact. Like I said, it happens to all of us in some way. So the subtitle on the card is, I didn't even say the name of the card, or maybe I did. It's Many Masks. And the subtitle is The Authentic Self. What was I just talking about? There's a lot of ways that we obscure our authentic self there's many reasons that we all do it, so I couldn't begin to speculate on that. That is something we can all consider for ourselves. But if you'll notice, I saw a couple of people, if you will recall in the beginning, looking at this bust. But if you look closer, inside the chest area, there is yet another face. So it's like this whole other hidden, barely discernible inner self that exists in all of us. And that's kind of what I was talking about with my last video, when I was talking about the venning, how we do the venning with each other, and the spaces that we physically and ephemerally both generate and also blend with everybody else's, because it's like our Merkaba. It's our personal space vehicle around us, but it is mostly invisible to most of us, and it's a lot larger than we really even know. I mean, it's like suddenly becoming aware that your personal space vehicle is as big as a Winnebago. And then, you know, that's everyone. Everyone has that. And we're just all like walking through each other's fields sort of unknowingly. And that creates reactions and things. And that's what we feel about each other. And, but we present as, the venning. Right. I talked about that podcast host that seemed to be having some identity problems with himself, and also I guess not dealing with it well because of the way that he was treating the people around him, just in general. And that he seemed to have more going on inside than was on the surface. And I talked about it a little, but the reason why I talked about it was because I feel like that he had more going on the inside, you know, as a person, and that was causing him to outwardly act the way that he has been. And so that's like a ven of yourself. You know, you got the self, and then inside of you, overlapping, is several selves. And it's just, I mean, can you imagine? It's got to be nutty in there. I need to answer something. I'll be right back. My boss. Okay, so I'm going to hurry it along. I'm going to also stumble over my words. I'm going to hurry it along. Many masks. I'm going to read from the guidebook. Many masks, the authentic self. Energizing internal allies, a conscious shift. We live in a world where everyone we see wears a mask. Oh man, am I congested. Oh, could use this, I guess. I need me. We live in a world where everyone we see wears a mask. We wear these masks to cover up and protect who we really are. We learn to do so because we've been conditioned to try to appear a certain way to fit into society. Masks allow us to belong, so we remain within the confines of what is expected. Masks are not inherently bad. Rather, they provide context and structure for our personalities and soul's expression. Some of us might believe that a particular mask, fixed and hardened onto us, is our permanent face. We forget that we are living beings with a multitude of faces, enabling us to experience a fuller, more vibrant world. Your authentic essence doesn't wait to be contained by others' expectations anymore. Well, you know, sometimes we get there and have that freedom. Now is the time to strip away the mask you've accepted and discover who you really are. A new self is emerging, and your perception changes as you adopt new ways of being. Right now, it's really important to allow yourself to experiment, to experience the world in all its myriad potentials and possibilities. Try on different masks and let yourself be fluid and curious. How will you know what you love and what you resonate with if you don't take off the mask you've always worn and test drive some new ones? Your authentic essence will never change. It will only express itself differently through these optional selves. Through trial and through error, you discover more and more about who you want to become. What would it feel like to explore this side of you? Anything is possible if you're willing to open up to your potential. You truly can move beyond the barriers society has set. Well, thank goodness for that. Jeez. Use your imagination and step into the magic. So, that's pretty on point with what I was saying about the other person and us. But we kind of know this about ourselves. And so I need to be wrapping up here. The second card I pulled was from the Wild Unknown Animal Spirit deck. And I can already tell you, or I could already tell just by looking at it, that we're talking transformation. And we are talking transformation, because what is putting on a different mask for any given occasion but a transformation of the same self? Ooh, deep. So the card that I pulled from the animal deck is the butterfly, the embodiment of transformation. And I actually, who doesn't love butterflies, really? There's such a marvel of aerial science. I don't know, I'm losing the word, of course. Aeronautic, I don't know, they fly good. They're just sort of improbable looking, like, I don't know, like, I know a lot about flying, because I do a lot of it in my life with my own wings, but butterfly just doesn't look like it would work, but it does. And again, what do I know about aeronautics? Pretty much nothing, as you can tell. But you know, this is not about that for this insect. It doesn't think about it. It just instinctively does, because it follows the cues that its body gives, which is something that we humans, boy, have we forgotten how to do that. It's like work. I mean, from what we put into our bodies and how it makes us act, and how we use our bodies or don't, and how that makes us act, and yeah, we're just like running around crazy spraying. But these guys and many others from the animal kingdom, they don't do a lot of thinking and get in their own way. They just let stuff be, because they're not asking a bunch of questions. Stuff just happens because it's supposed to, and that's kind of a circular line of thought just for myself. But they don't ask questions because they don't have to. It's like they have a knowing that it's not like our intelligence, where we have to pick it apart and know why we know it and how we know it and blah blah blah. They just let it be, and that's how I guess they can float with that little thorax under there. Okay, so what the book has to say about the butterfly is undergoing great change and transformation. The energy of the butterfly is with us during periods of transition. Since air is the element of the heart, that's true. This change usually involves relationships, or if you love your job, perhaps your career. Since transition is accompanied by some sort of discomfort, be extra patient and kind during this time, especially if the butterfly is you. Well, I have to say, I did my best to extricate myself from the situation with this other person, but every time we'd sort of repair things, because I did go back a couple of times, because what this person was offering, and not like what he was afraid of about the fame and the money, but it was more of a companionship thing. It was more of a, well, that's word enough to describe it. And it was something that I was hoping was going to be on a level, it sounded like it was. It sounded like it was what they wanted too, but on a level different than I had been dealing with. Although I know that that person is a cranky person, and I mean, it's sort of publicly known that the people that he was involved with had issues and disagreements kind of with them from almost the beginning. And I also well, I mean, my temper flares, and then my mouth starts going, and I can be mean and cutting. And so I have to really watch that. And if you don't know me, this is not going to mean anything to you, but I've worked on it and made a lot of changes for the better. So I really made the effort not to go to an aggressive place with this person, but they just kept asking me for a thing over and over, and I had told them repeatedly that I could not give them this thing they wanted, and I would just, that was it. It's like I would just get irritated because I was like, how many times do I have to tell you? So that I didn't want to be that way. So that is something I'm trying to transition from, or, you know, I'm making my way from it. I trust that I will, you know, become better at controlling that. But it really didn't matter when it came down to it, what kind of mood I was in when I was trying to get what I wanted to say across. This person on a lot of levels just was not listening, and I cannot abide by that. Like, if you're going to interact with me, you really need to pay attention, because I am paying attention to you. Why else, you know, why bother, you know, interacting with someone if you're not going to pay attention? Just go talk to yourself somewhere if you don't care about what the other person has to say. Excuse me. So the butterfly. The energy of the butterfly is with us during periods of transition. Since air is the element of the heart, this usually involves relationships, or if you love your job, perhaps your career. Since transition is accompanied by some sort of discomfort, be extra patient and kind during this time, especially if the butterfly is you. Well, in those situations, you're always the butterfly and whatever else. Let solid friends and activities support you like a cocoon, committing to one daily routine, a meal, practice, or prayer, done at the same place and time, will do wonders for lifting a butterfly's spirit. Well, that's certainly true. I mean, I know that it's easy to get all involved with something else or someone else and sort of get pulled out of your routine, and you might start slacking off on things. So that's not the same as what happened yesterday. I literally was tired. I have to remember, and also I guess I need to let you know that while I have some physical challenges, and I definitely have like things in my body happening that it would be better if they weren't, but there's not really any way to address them without scrambling my brain, and I don't want that. It's, you know, it's got its issues already. I don't need to I don't want them digging around in my brain basically. So that, but you know, it's like I have a lot of capabilities, and then I have a lot of stuff that I just plain can't do, and I had to adapt to that. It's fine. So yeah, having a routine and doing something daily is good. And one of the things that I wanted to make a routine was these card readings. But you know, every once in a while, life will deal you an unexpected hand, and you just got to play it as best you can. And this wasn't like a big bad deal. I was exhausted, and I forget that I'm not in like 100% health and overdo it. So I need to remember that. And I guess I overdo it. I burned my whole fuse. So the butterfly, when in balance, is cheerful and graceful. When out of balance, fragile and frustrated. That's for sure. You know, when I was a child, we used to, like, one of the things we did to play was catch moths and butterflies, and you just catch them when they're kind of sitting on the flower feeding. What an a-hole I was. And we used to grab them by the wing, and that was the game, if you could catch them. But we didn't realize that by grabbing them and putting our fingers on their wings, we were pulling off a substance on their wings, a powdery stuff. And we would want to grab those wings because they would come away on our hands, and it was like sparkly and interesting, and then you, like, after 2 seconds of looking at it, you wipe it off on your leg and walk away. But what I didn't realize is by taking away that powdery substance, that was like part of their ability to fly, and we were crippling them and we were killing them basically. So, if you feed by going from flower to flower and you can't fly anymore, you've killed that animal. So, boy, am I sorry I did that. I just didn't know as a child. So if you have a child or around a child and you see them doing that, if you didn't know, you should probably stop them, because they're just gonna kill that insect, even if they let it go and it's still living when they walk away. Death is not always instantaneous. Profound words of the day. So that's that. I read those cards, and what I have to say about the butterfly and transition is a lesson that I learned, a lesson I guess I needed to have over and over before I got my fill of it and learned everything that I could. And that's talking to the strangers online. Like, you just never know what you're going to get, Forrest Gump. But you have to be able to adapt on the butterfly and save yourself. But this is hard for me. This is one of those split brain things again. On one level, I know that whatever I do, there's not really a right or wrong. That's like a perception that we have collectively agreed upon is a right or wrong thing. And I was talking about this with my boss, and the sort of pitfalls of meeting strangers that way. And we all think like, if you keep talking to scammers, like, you're the dummy, or you're not smart enough to like discern like what you're talking to. Well, in my case, I just am automatically suspicious, so no one should assume that I'm just blindly not knowing what I'm doing. And the reason why I keep doing it is because obviously there's something I'm not getting out of it, and I got to keep going back to the well, and that's fine. Like I was telling my boss, it's like reincarnation. Why do we do it? What for? Because that is our opportunity as a fractal piece of God that's here to like have experiences and gain knowledge and go through all of these things as an enhancement to its greater self. We're like independent remote bits, right? So delving into that particular slice of life over and over is like the reincarnation thing. Again, split brain. I both want to do these things and find out about these things and experience them. It might go any kind of way, like good or bad. So, they quoted a song, and the person was saying, like, the other person they were talking about in the song was stupid because they did something that they should have known better. But it's like, you don't know better until you first reach out and try. And that's what we're supposed to do, like reach out and try and fail or win, just to have the experience. That is the point of our existence. That is why we're here. So, yeah, if you feel like you've done something and you feel foolish, just remember, if you feel foolish, that's one thing. But if other people are saying you are, like telling you are, or looking upon you like you don't have the sense to make a good decision, well, maybe they don't know what your decision-making process was actually all about. Just think about that. But, no one can make you stupid or make you feel stupid. They can say it all they want, but if you don't have to accept it and like become it, you don't have to embody it. So that is what I have to say about that. I will hopefully be doing another reading for today's cards later. Thank you and good night.